Angela Rayner's resignation was not just the fallout from a single embarrassing parliamentary session, it was the result of a consistent pattern of failure, evasion, and sheer incompetence that has marked her tenure as Labour's deputy leader. The political landscape is rife with challenges, but one thing is abundantly clear: when you fail to deliver on your promises, fail to take responsibility, and fail to show the public that you can handle the weight of office, there are consequences. Rayner's resignation was the inevitable conclusion to her inability to address one of the most important issues facing the nation, the housing crisis. Labour's ambitious plan to build 1.5 million homes over the next 5 years was, on paper, an admirable goal. The country has been in the grip of a housing crisis for decades, and any proposal that seeks to address this urgent issue should be applauded. However, the execution of this plan has been nothing short of disastrous, and Rayner's responses during the parliamentary session only made matters worse. The lack of clear answers, the constant deflection, and the unwillingness to take ownership of the situation have exposed a fundamental flaw in the leadership of the Labour Party. At a time when the nation desperately needs transparency, Rayner chose to evade tough questions with vague generalizations and baseless excuses. The Conservative MP's question was simple: how many of the promised 1.5 million homes had actually been built? Instead of providing concrete figures, Rayner deflected to blaming the previous government. She pointed fingers at past administrations and policies without offering any real solutions or, more critically, any evidence of progress under her own leadership. This refusal to be accountable is not just a matter of poor communication, it's a betrayal of the people who elected her to deliver results. The truth is, Rayner's failure to answer the question directly spoke volumes. It revealed that the Labour government has made little to no tangible progress on this vital issue. The housing crisis isn't something that can be solved by vague promises and empty rhetoric. It requires action, leadership, and the ability to face difficult truths. Rayner failed on all counts. She responded to the scrutiny with the same political games that have characterized the party's approach for far too long, deflecting, shifting blame, and offering no real solutions. Why still, the refusal to address specific concerns only deepened the sense of frustration. When Labour MPs were questioned about planning permissions granted against local council refusals, Rayner chose to evade the issue entirely, offering no clarity on why such decisions were made. This lack of specificity is damaging. It suggests that the government has no clear strategy or accountability when it comes to implementing its promises. It is one thing to say you want to build homes, it's quite another to actually deliver on that promise. The disconnect between Labour's ambitious rhetoric and its actions on the ground is staggering, and Rayner's failure to address these gaps in a meaningful way ultimately led to her downfall. The resignation was not just the result of one isolated incident, it was the culmination of a pattern of behaviour. Rayner's inability to articulate concrete progress on a flagship policy, her refusal to take responsibility for the failings of her government, and her consistent deflections in the face of criticism painted a picture of a leader who was out of her depth. The public, quite rightly, grew disillusioned. Labour's promises became hollow when faced with the realities of governance. Rayner's inability to confront those realities led to her resignation, and in many ways, it's the only logical consequence. But Rayner's departure is more than just a personal failure, it is indicative of a broader problem within the Labour Party. There is a growing disconnect between the party's lofty promises and its ability to deliver. For years, Labour has promised radical change, ambitious reforms, and solutions to the pressing issues facing the country. But when it comes to execution, the party has repeatedly fallen short. Rayner's resignation is merely a symptom of this much deeper issue, a failure of leadership, a failure of vision, and, most concerning of all, a failure of accountability. In the end, Rayner's resignation serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of political hubris. When leaders believe they can skate by without answering tough questions or taking responsibility for their actions, they risk losing the trust of the very people they are meant to serve. The public is not fooled by empty rhetoric and vague promises. They want results, they want transparency, and they want accountability. Rayner's inability to provide any of these things sealed her fate. Her departure leaves Labour in a precarious position. The housing crisis remains unsolved, and the government's credibility is further tarnished. If the party hopes to recover, it must learn from Rayner's mistakes. It must move beyond empty promises and start taking concrete steps to address the real issues facing the country. But that requires a new kind of leadership, one that is willing to face the truth, take responsibility, and deliver on its commitments. Until Labour embraces this kind of leadership, it will continue to stumble from crisis to crisis, and its political fortunes will continue to decline. Rayner's resignation should be a wake-up call for both the Labour Party and the broader political establishment. It's time for politicians to stop playing games and start getting results. The British people deserve better, and they are no longer willing to settle for anything less.